Hey, it's Santi, and welcome back. If you're new here, then welcome to the Gender Swap YouTube channel. And if you have been here before, then cool. I am happy to be chatting with you today. So I'm doing something a little bit different. Sorry, the noise quality is probably gonna be awful. But I am in Wales at the moment, in Cardiff, and I thought it'd be really neat to do a little vlog today to speak with my friend Willoughby, who owns a business called Spokesperson. And Spokesperson is a cycling company that supports and encourages marginalised folks to get out on their bicycles and take up more space on cycling lanes. So I am on my way to Spokesperson now. Willoughby operates out of a really cool container and support people by giving them accessible knowledge on cycling, how to repair your bike. They offer classes and workshops, sell bikes, and anything to do with cycling, they basically support you with. Today I'm going to be speaking to Willoughby about being queer and trans and relationship with style.
Like, I'm very comfortable walking into a room and having everybody notice, like, that I've, like, dressed up.
That's your Leo Cancer cusp.
Yes, my moon sign is Leo.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your rising?
Leo.
Oh, it's Leo. There we go.
No, just Leo.
Even just, functioning fashion in the cycling world and how that operates with queerness and taking up space in public. So I will see you in a bit once I get there. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Willoughby Wren. That's me.
Do you want to kind of give a rundown of sort of what inspired you, what Spokesperson is and what inspired you to start it?
So Spokesperson is a kind of bicycle related project. I've got my own workshop where I fix bikes and sell bikes, and running in tandem with that, there's yeah, I'm in town till Thursday. I also do lots of different social programs to try and get marginalized people, especially LGBTQ people, because I kind of feel like starting with my own kind of community and that then rippling outwards to help other marginalized communities is the way for me to help get them involved in cycling, but not really like racy like cycling, more like cycling as for well-being or transport.
Do you want to speak a bit more about the importance of queer people taking up space in the cycling sort of world? And
yeah, for me personally, it's been really important, like, because I'm not one of those people that like had to like realize that I was queer later in life. Like, I was very obviously queer from very small, and so was bullied quite a lot when I was little. And I got to university and left home, and I was like very quiet and had a lot of trouble making friends and really having accessing any sort of support network. And also I was in this American city, and there was like either sketchy public transport or my bike, which is like and then I went on a critical mass ride, organized anarchy that happens in lots of cities around the world, where all the cyclists, not all the cyclists, but somebody just says, look, we're all meeting on Friday, or one Friday a month, we're all gonna ride together, it's usually Friday, and just take over the road, take up the space. The critical mass in Atlanta, the city where I went to college, university, was almost entirely gay people and lesbians. That were quite big in like the anarchist sort of scene and the sort of squatter punk scene as well. It was almost entirely queer. So, and they were like organizing critical mass. So I went to these groups, and it was just like so freeing, and it was also fun. It's more like a parade. It's like waving and taking over the streets, and people bring their sound systems and play loud music. It's festive and it's liberatory. But I guess I tapped into that sort of experience of riding my bike and being in the city, cycled a lot more, and then eventually caught up in the cycling world like a plastic bag getting stuck in a derailleur. Yeah, I moved to London, and then I was a student and I had no money, so I became a courier.
Oh, wow.
And back before it was like chic. And everybody who's a courier knows everyone else who's a courier, so I got a job in a bike shop. And after this 12 years, is that like cycling can bring so much to people. It was changing my life. Like, I had access to a job, I suddenly had access to friends, I had a reason to get out, I had access to transport. There's also so many barriers. You know, there's so much machismo, there's so much homophobia, there's so much sexism. Just, it's also very classist. Like, if you come in with like what they call in the States your Walmart bikes, you're like sub 100 pounds like thing, you'll get lots of mechanics. They're like, and they're racist, steroid driven, competitive capitalists.
That's all been your inspiration almost for creating Spokesperson, right?
Yeah, it's basically to get bikes into the hands of people that can't access them, to give people that experience of riding. Just having that experience of going in the critical mass. I then, even though next day it was just me riding on my own, because I'd had that like feeling of like, it's not just me all by myself. Like, loads of people all over the city are dealing with cars cutting you off and crappy infrastructure and nowhere to park your bike because nobody's thought that anyone was going to show up on a bike wherever you're going. You're not really alone.
So for those of you who don't know, Gender Swap's style archive on Tumblr, which is called Queer Textiles, and Willoughby submitted a story about their relationship with clothes. And I was interested to speak to Willoughby today about your connection with style as a queer person. Maybe do you want to speak a little bit about key sort of times in your life where styles really played an important role in your identity making?
From the beginning, 38 years of me being like very, very specific about like, you know, what I wanted to wear. Right from when I was very small. I remember being really resistant to wearing girls' clothes or wearing dresses, and there just being this like with my parents about that, especially for church, because Jesus cares. Jesus needs you to be wearing a dress. Now, like as an adult, like trying to like access like having a spiritual life, the impression you've been given of organized religion, you're not accepted from the outset, and you do have to wear a fucking dress. Like,
how has style in a way been functional or served as a function in your queer life?
It's everything. But I know that sounds really superficial and flippant and maybe camp. It goes right to that whole postmodern idea of queer identities. They are camp. You know, saying that like looking heterosexual is real and camp is, and you know, and queerness is all fake. And it's a false binary. It's a battle. Because obviously my work, I'm often covered in oil and grease, and I get sweaty and, you know, properly dirty, or I'm cycling, so then, you know, you have to factor in lots of things in order to cycle. I kind of feel like when you've spent so much of your life fighting to dress how you want to then head out the door in sweatpants and like sneakers, is like if somebody made some sort of like three-piece suit that like never stained and you could cycle in it and it was waterproof, I would probably wear that. But it is funny too how people like think comfortable means you know, like loose fitting. It means like
Or frumpy.
frumpy.
Yeah.
And I can remember this being one of the battles with my mom. Like one of them was, she was like, okay, you don't have to wear boys' clothing or men's clothing to be comfortable. And she found like these dresses with like elasticated waist. They were like 100% cotton, like stretchy cotton with these like long skirts. She was like, you could wear that. They were terrible.
That's
They were
awful.
Absolutely like, and it's like for me, being comfortable is looking nice.
You talked about the fact that if you could wear a three-piece suit that didn't stain, or one that was comfortable enough to cycle in, you would, and
Yeah.
sort of to kind of be able to like showcase queerness in a way while cycling. And I kind of wanted to explore a bit more, to kind of ask you what you think, or if there's any sort of connection between style and cycling and queerness, and
Oh,
you know,
100.
and it would be really helpful to give some examples of some clothing items or some people that you look up to in terms of like cycling style inspo, and being able to balance, I guess, between feeling comfortable and feeling and looking queer enough.
Interested in thinking about really at the moment, in terms of style, is looking at the bike itself.
Oh,
Like
I would
so
have never
many
thought
people
that.
are like, there's been so much, over 100 years of just unfathomable amounts of money and time and research people have poured into making this machine just go fast in a straight line as fast as possible. They figured out how to make it break the sound barrier, right? But like, why are so many of them minging? Like, and like, what are ways that people can like find that like the bike itself can become a form of like expression?
I've
Especially,
never thought
like-
about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like as a poor, you know, can't go on Instagram and show people my like huge glass fronted like house that looks like it's out of Dwell magazine. Like I don't have my yacht. The bike's pretty much what I've got, and especially a lot of queer people, because the underemployment and poor pay while employment statistics for queer people are pretty shocking,
Yeah.
especially trans people. Bikes are something that is accessible. You can use the bike not just as like this just boring thing, but as a thing that looks cool.
Is there any kind of queer staples, or like staples for queer cyclists in terms of like garments or clothes or even colors that are more popular? Or
Like definitely styles that are pre-existing in the cycling world. They've just never been my thing. Lots of them also, there's like a big overlap. There isn't sort of like a queer cycling kind of scene or look. They're all sort of like, there are queers that exist within, I don't know, your fixed gear, fixie mincer, beardy, hipster look people.
Right.
There are queers within your questy, urban, urbanite like kind of look. I would love to like explore like a specifically queer aesthetic. Like staples, I mean obviously the color black, because chain grease is black. The dirt that comes off of the bike and onto your hands when you lock it up, or especially in London, like when you touch anything outside and then get it on your clothes, it's normally black.
Yeah.
So unfortunately black or dark gray is always going to be around.
My first go-to, I'll put some pictures on the next screens, are, you know, those small cycling caps with the brim sort of flipped up,
Yeah.
and neon sort of spandex get-ups, a retro K-way jacket, or Gore-Tex rainproof, but kind
Yeah.
of make it sort of 80s.
A lot of that sort of that old rayon, the old puffy 80s stuff, it's not necessarily waterproof, but the thing is it's good because it dries quickly.
It's very
'Cause-
practical.
Yeah, because like the proper waterproof stuff is just so like,
What are your future plans, and maybe if you want to let viewers know about how they can get involved if they're based in Cardiff, or if they're not, if there's other opportunities.
I am going to be advertising to find a young person. I think they have to be between like 18 and 21, 25, something like that. And they have to be on universal credit. And the government is going to pay me to employ them. I fully intend to find a young trans or queer person, see what we can do about the unemployment statistics. Hopefully they do really well and I end up with an actual employee who could then do a lot more of the bike fixing, and I can focus more on social outreach kind of stuff.
And what kind of outreach things do you have going on at the moment?
The queer biking,
Yep.
which is one way people can get involved. If you're in Cardiff, they can contact me through my website. There's a Facebook group. And
Are you still offering any of the online classes or workshops or anything like that?
I am. At the moment, I'm doing a series of them just with Aubergine. Aubergine is a cafe based here in Cardiff that is run by and for autistic adults. Yeah, I do online classes. They pay it forward scheme so that people that are getting their bikes serviced, if they want to pay a bit more, that some of that money could then go to fixing and servicing bikes for people that can't afford it. We're gonna get funding, hopefully we're gonna get funding as part of a heritage project. Speak to actual historians and queer people in the city about like their memory. Our history is the actual streets itself, it is the city itself, and the best way to access that is by cycling.
Do you have any words of advice for anyone out there watching?
I think what I'm learning on this journey is really to like have faith in your own instincts. So many people particularly the cycling world, they just don't see things as legitimate. Why would you want to do this with your bike? Why would you make, I don't know, stripping it and painting it like a priority? Who cares what it looks like? You know, the important thing is, can you do this fancy downhill course on it? What's important is how light is it? What's important is how fast it is. And they tell you that those are the legitimate things for you to aim for when you're thinking about your bike. And I think that also applies to our style. That also applies to our identities. Whereas I'm now being well, hey, who said that that's the only legitimate thing? What if people are well, I want my bike to be cool. That's legitimate too. I want what I wear to look cool. I want to stick out. That's legitimate too.
I like that a lot. That's a really good note to end on. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure.
It's been so fun. And I will be posting all the links down below so you can learn more about Spokesperson, and definitely join the community if you are here in Cardiff or just follow online. Hey everyone, it's me again. I hope that you enjoyed that. I will be back next week with more. And don't forget to check out Spokesperson's links down below, including Willoughby's submission to our style archive. And have a good day, and I'll see you next week. Take care.